There's a lot to catch up on over what's happened the last week or so. It feels like there's a whole season's worth of storyline since the last time I hopped on the Locked On Hornets, Mike. So we got to get to LaMelo. We got to get to the minutes restriction. Tidjane Salaün, he's back with the big boys. Miles Bridges is playing like a big boy. So is Kon. He's on Jimmy Fallon. Oh, God. All right. We got a lot to get to today. Locked On Hornets.
You're playing with the big boys now.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, you see me, and then Doug Branson with the dramatic entrance, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can also follow his work. He's behind the scenes on Yahoo Sports Daily, but he's there. Trust me. Jason Fitz, Caroline Fenton, they are on the camera. Doug is somewhere behind the scenes creating all of the magic. And I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Appreciate them as always. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. And last but certainly not least, thanks to you guys for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. We appreciate it because you're sickos and you stick with us every single weekday. We are daily, folks. The Locked On Sports Podcast Network. We are daily. We are releasing content, even if we have been doing it with a janky schedule between the both of us because of some of the responsibilities that we have with other jobs. So it's been a while for me, Doug, since I've talked about the Hornets on this show, and we even had a couple of days off of Wes and Walker. So I have not really anywhere. I've not shared my thoughts on all that happened against the Knicks, but that seems like a lifetime ago. It was 5 days ago.
Toss that game out. I don't even remember. Who are the Knicks?
Well, just the way that they responded. The Hornets responded with a victory. That was such a pivotal checkpoint when you measure things that have happened across the season. How are you going to respond against Chicago? Because there's a lot to say as to what happened against New York. Buddy, it was bad. They responded. They got the win against Chicago. They responded again, getting on the second night of a back-to-back. They got the big victory against the Toronto Raptors. Kon Knueppel with the fake from the corner. After he fakes it, Drano. Then they win in overtime. Miles Bridges was an absolute beast. They won despite not all that great of a shooting performance from what many people would consider to be their best two players. In LaMelo Ball, not a great shooting performance. Played 22 minutes in this game. We'll get to that. Brandon Miller, 1 field goal in this one. 13 attempts, 1 field goal. Didn't make a whole lot. He came alive offensively against Chicago. Buddy, just thoughts on all of it, if you want to share it. I know you've had a couple of episodes where you hopped on solo, but really that Toronto victory, that was a big one.
Yeah, I think the Charlotte Hornets collectively as a team have decided that we would like a season. Like we would like to participate in a season of basketball that means something. I don't know what it means, but they've decided that it's going to mean something. And the question that I think they partially answered against Toronto, but will have to continue to answer, including in tonight's game against Brooklyn, is can they do that with some consistency? Can they continue to do it without even close to normal performances from Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball? Now, you got a great performance, at least scoring-wise, from Brandon Miller against Chicago, where he scored 27 points on 19 shots, 52% from the field. But then not being able to follow that up. They have not gotten consistent performances from, I would say LaMelo has been pretty consistent, just been consistently not shooting the basketball very well. So in this one against Toronto, they showed up, they battled through some issues that they had on the boards, and they finally won a crunch time game. And I'm not sure if Chicago, there were some crunchy moments, but I'm not sure, by the definition, by the letter of the law, that was a crunch time victory because of the margin that they ended up having towards the end of the game. But the Toronto one certainly was. And Kon Knueppel, I just knew he was getting the basketball, and I was just like, fingers crossed. I was well, so I wasn't able to watch the game live because it was producer Katie's birthday. But fortunately for me, as that like I'm kind of somewhat monitoring it, if she gets up to go to the bathroom, I check my little Pivot Fade app. I'm like, all right, where are they? Okay, so as the check's coming out, we're getting ready to finish up dinner and then go to our next location, next reservation at a little bar that we like to go to. So we're waiting on the check to come, and just as that's happening, final couple of possessions. So I get permission, and I'm like, hey, can we crack it open, put it here on the table while we're waiting on the check to come? Let's see these final possessions. And thankfully, Kon Knueppel delivered, didn't disappoint, set the tone for the rest of the birthday night. Everyone was happy. Everyone was excited. Kon, huge three-point shot. His ability to shot fake is so devastating to defenders right now. They don't know what to do with it. He froze Brandon Ingram, had no idea what to do with Kon in the corner there, and then just shout out Miles Bridges, who has, I think, you look back to the Chicago game as well where he had 22, but in this one, absolutely critical. He took over the overtime period. His production has gotten a lot better, and he did it in crunch time, and we've railed on him, and his decision-making in crunch time. Well, now we have to give him his flowers because he's played really well.
And he also didn't take the biggest shot.
That's right.
it was Kon Knueppel.
That is also correct. Well, I would say most of them in overtime were big. And Sion's defense, just throw that in there too. Just it was a great, fantastic win.
Right. Oh yeah, that's not even to strip Miles Bridges of any credit. It's what happened. Got to have it possession. Who's going to take the shot? It had been Miles in every other scenario because of LaMelo being out, because of Brandon being out. In every other scenario, oftentimes, I think 100% of the time, it was a bad shot from Miles. Not this one. We've had two big-time makes to force overtime. One was from Kon Knueppel against Milwaukee when Miles misses the dunk. It ends up in Kon's lap, shoots it, bang. The second one was Kon Knueppel, where it's designed to go to him, and he hits it from the corner. Two big-time shots. You got to have it situations to force it to overtime. Guess what Kon does? He nails it. I mean, you're running out of compliments to give to him. My man is going to go on a national television show for a reason because people are starting to take notice of Kon Knueppel. He's going to be on Jimmy Fallon, which is kind of hilarious to me. He's been all of that and then some. And what's really impressive about Kon, too, is that he had a bad shooting night. Really, not crazy against Chicago. It was against New York where he really, really struggled from the field. But even so, if you watch him after he misses a shot, it's just human nature to be frustrated with yourself at least 0.2 seconds, at least. But what happens is there have been times where he'll miss a shot, and against New York, it was like his fifth or sixth missed shot in a row. Against Chicago, that crowd was waiting to erupt, waiting to just go crazy, and Kon had missed like 3 or 4 in a row. We wanted it so bad, but what happens is Musa gets an offensive rebound, Sion James deflects a fast break from happening, and Kon immediately goes to them and almost focuses his frustration on positive energy by praising what those guys did. The classic next play mentality is real with him, and we got to see that on display. But really, the entire team, Colin Sexton has stepped up big time in the last couple of games. Brandon Miller did offensively against Chicago. And I'll say this, man, just to shed some light on what LaMelo did. Like, not to mention New York too many times because we're far enough away from it. I thought I thought LaMelo's worst game that I'd seen him play in quite some time was against Indiana. Scratch that. The new worst one was against New York. And I was way more frustrated with LaMelo and what he did against the Knicks, and everybody saw it. My man felt like he checked out pretty hardcore. That was frustrating. Charles Lee called him out for good reason, in my opinion, after the game. LaMelo just forcing bad shots, not involved in any activity. He stepped the hell up against Chicago, man. That's why I give him all the credit. He missed a bunch of shots. That's fine. My man was engaged. He was getting all sorts of people better shots. In fact, there were times I thought he was a tiny bit too unselfish when he could have shot, but he wanted to get his teammates involved. Anyways, just shout out to LaMelo, to me, for playing much better the last couple of games, even if the shot isn't falling, because it's going to come and go. But I thought he played a lot better the last couple games, Doug.
And obviously for fans, it's frustrating to not see LaMelo drop a bunch of shots. But at the same time, like when he's on the floor, the Hornets are better. I mean, it's tough to dispute that. And so the Hornets believe that they have something here, and they're just waiting for it all to come together. And the past 2 games, while we haven't seen Brandon and LaMelo, be at their tip top for both of those games, I think there's evidence there that there is something here, and that if LaMelo can get off this minutes restriction and get out of this funk, and Brandon Miller can refine his game, that they might not have all the pieces, but they do have the beginnings of something special here, and Kon's ascension has a lot to do with that. Final thing on Kon Knueppel and that final shot of regulation to send it to overtime. Narrative moment, got to have those if you're going to be a special player. So got to have a lot of them. So we're checking a box, but we got to check it like 20 times. And then what I liked about that final possession is that Kon left no doubt that he was getting that basketball. Play was run for him, but he was physical with his initial defender to get the switch on Brandon Ingram, and Ingram terrible on the switch, just not ready for it at all. And he used that to his advantage, but he made sure that he got the ball on that inbounds, and then he did something with it. Beautiful.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Let's focus on that minutes restriction, both for Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. Coming up next, LOH. Before we do that, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season, it's one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks, they've added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule, creating a lineup that takes less than a minute, and the app that makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. The early payout feature is a great bonus as well. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. Yeah, if we experience any kind of success and bet the buzz, then we need to go ahead on that cash out option, because that seems like it's directed right here at Locked On Hornets. Why are you so loud? Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Looking at the game logs for both of these guys, and Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. You look at what Brandon did. He comes back. He plays that game against New York. It's a rough time shooting for him. 5 of 12 from the field, 28 minutes. Waits a couple of days. Plays against Chicago right after Thanksgiving, and really played well from the field overall offensively. 32 minutes for Brandon in that game. 25 minutes against Toronto, so 7 minutes less than what he played against Chicago. All right, so you look at LaMelo's minutes, and you actually see something pretty similar for him. LaMelo Ball against the New York Knicks, he suits up, he plays 27 minutes, plays a little bit more in winning time against Chicago, 29. It felt like Charles Lee wanted to win that game pretty badly, and it makes sense because of how poorly it went against New York. So perhaps Brandon plays a little bit more on an extra day's rest, 30 for him. LaMelo, 29. That makes sense. That's a little past that minutes restriction that we set for him at about 27, 28. Second night of a back-to-back. They suit up, Doug, but they both play less. In fact, 7 minutes less for Brandon. 22 minutes, and that was it for Toronto. There have been some people that have been discussing that he got benched, that LaMelo was benched in the fourth quarter of winning time. I would say Charles Lee does have a minutes restriction for both of these guys. He talked about that in press game availability. You could argue that he's hiding behind that and that he really did want to bench LaMelo and it just worked out. Okay, fine. At the same time, I believe that he really is trying to be smart with the macro. And he's saying what's more important is that we have LaMelo and Brandon appear in as many games as possible. And we already got the win. I'm proud of our team's effort. I want to win this game against Toronto. That would be great. But we're not going to have LaMelo push it too much on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, so actually we have a question here from the Sicko Satchel. This is from Mitch of the 19th Sneed Squadron. Walker, I've got a need for Sneed.
Nobody has ever said that. That is the first time anybody has ever said I have a need
I
for
said that all the time when Xavier Sneed was on the team.
All the time. Of course, everybody said it all the time.
Hey.
I did not realize that he was a part of the divisions that you have. So shout out to Xavier Sneed.
Well, the thing is, if you join the Sicko Brigade, join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets, you get to choose your division. That's the whole thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah, the Sicko Brigade is the division is your Sicko Hornet selection, your favorite obscure Hornet or Bobcat. So that's how it works.
All right. Well, I'm a part of the Briante Battalion is what I'm a part of.
That's great. Now, what number was he? Was 11, right?
I don't know. He's only my favorite player of all time.
No, I think he was a deuce. I think he was a deucer. I think it was 22. It's either 22 or 11. I'm getting double numbers here. That's what I'm like Miss Cleo.
I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. That seems
call
like,
me now.
He's number 2.
You know what I'm saying? What?
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
No, number 0. Number 0. I'm sorry. Number 0.
Right.
Okay.
I was way off.
Yeah. Wow. That was not even close.
Anyway, Mitch of the 19th Sneed Squadron says, this was the first Hornets game my 15-month-old daughter actually paid attention to, referring to the Toronto game. I think the law requires that she watch every game now, right? That's right, Mitch. That's the law.
Seems cruel. Maybe not every game, but fair enough. We can start.
It's funny. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, just wean them onto Hornets action. You don't just throw them in the pool of Hornets despair. We got to, wean them into this lifestyle.
No, you got to throw them right in the pool. They're sink or swim. It's either one or the other. But it reminded me that, so I have the league pass where it, goes to the arena feed or whatever during the commercial breaks. And so whenever it's a Hornets game, they're always cutting to these kids wearing the gear and stuff. And I'm like, I know this is supposed to make me happy. But unfortunately, I just know what life they are joining. And it is one that, yes, does come with a lot of positive things, but it also comes with a lot of suffering. And so I'm just watching. I'm like, oh, kid, if you knew what I knew.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they're not even coming in during the MASH, Diddy, all of that. They're not coming in with that era. It's this era where we haven't experienced playoff success in quite some time.
Mitch goes on to write, this is the not-so-fun question. Was LaMelo's absence in the fourth and OT a minutes restriction thing, or the fact that he looked entirely unserious to start the game? Do you think that he looked unserious to start the game?
Not like New York. I didn't think so. Maybe, I don't know if you got that opinion. Doug, the New York game, again, I haven't had a microphone in front of my face to talk about that New York game, but so many things have happened since then. That was all kinds of bad. I really thought that, all right, depending on what happens against Chicago, if he does anything close to that again, then we're at a real crossroads here. This means they could be moving on from LaMelo. I wasn't the only one that thought that way. It felt like lots of Hornets pundits, lots of people were discussing that. LaMelo stands might be putting that out there oh, buddy, yeah, it looks like this might be the time. It was that kind of bad. It was that kind of noteworthy to me. Missing layups, taking bad shots, not getting back on defense, turning it over because the passes were lazy, not cutting hard. Whatever it was, I thought it was quite atrocious on all levels. My man showed up against Chicago. I give him all the credit in the world for responding the right kind of way. I did not see him totally despondent against Toronto. I didn't get that feeling that I had against New York. I don't know about you. I wouldn't call him totally unserious against Toronto like I would absolutely call him totally unserious against New York.
No, picked up the 2 first quarter fouls, stayed out of trouble in the second quarter. I think only 2 turnovers for the game. Yeah, I did. He wasn't as noticeably wow, okay, you're not going to get back at all on transition defense. Okay, that's fun. There were less of those moments. Again, it was not a great LaMelo game, and I think the minutes restriction is having an effect on both players. But there's a little bit when you're dealing with the injuries that these two players have had, and the money that they've already invested in LaMelo, and the money that they wish to invest in Brandon Miller in the future. And there is an is what it is sort of situation here where they have to consider the long-term health of these players when their franchise is not and was not at the beginning of the season set up to go after a playoff run. I mean, they did not set that expectation, and so they want to see a fully and honestly, I think Kon's come up is affecting this a little bit because I think they're even more hungry now to see what this team looks like fully healthy, like 40, 50 games into the season, when you've got Kon with a lot of experience under his belt, probably having moved past the rookie wall. I think they really want to see what this team looks like fully whole with Kon Knueppel playing even better. So, I just think they're going to work through this process, and it's going to be frustrating to LaMelo and frustrating to Brandon. But what would be even more, it would be not even frustrating, it would be devastating if LaMelo did re-injure that ankle.
It would be. And also, in a different way, would be devastating if LaMelo just didn't care to come back. He does want to be out there. You want the best for it. You want the best.
Problem is he wants to come back, and he's tired of playing. And I wonder if he's making all of the connections and being like, I'm tired of playing like this. I'm sure he doesn't love putting these stats up. He has put up just crazy stats almost the entirety of his career. I'm sure he enjoys that, like most NBA players enjoy that. And I'm sure he doesn't enjoy when he looks at the box score at the end of the game and sees his percentages in the tank. And then maybe he's making the connection of like, if I were in my regular rhythm, maybe I could have a better effect on the game. And then it becomes this like cyclical thing. And so the question is like, what's going to break that cycle? Is it just going to be he gets on a heater in the first quarter, knocks down his first couple of shots, and then gets in the groove? I don't know, but at least he's trying.
Well, and against Chicago, last thing there, man, I just thought that was exactly the style in which I want him to play, and I do think it's the best thing for the team when, again, I even thought, Doug, that there were at least 3, maybe 4 opportunities where LaMelo, I would have wanted him to shoot it, but instead he was looking to pass to the open guy or look for the absolute best shot possible. And again, I've said this a few times. I don't want him to completely erase the fun, somewhat heat-checky shots from his arsenal. Not all of it. Let's just not do it all of the time. Like, we still got a tiny little sprinkle of that Salt Bay style against Chicago, but I want some of that. It makes you a little dangerous. The defense doesn't know when you're going to shoot from the hip, and LaMelo has proven he can make that, just not at the volume in which he had been putting those shots up like that. Defensively, monster play in that game against Chicago where, Trey Jones, who you steal the ball from and you get going down the other way? It reminded me a tiny bit of less efficient sophomore campaign season LaMelo. And really, at that point, we can just say, well, it's one game. The shots weren't falling. Like, if the shots fall, that's chef's kiss Melo. That's the frustrating part. Can you get into a rhythm? Can you stay out there? How long is the minutes restriction going to be in place? Can we break through that? And then we'll see how this core looks together out there on the court at the same time.
And does LaMelo expect to come back when he does get off this minutes restriction? Does he expect to have the exact same role that he had, even as soon as last season or his rookie season or his sophomore season? Or like what are his expectations for his role? Because I think Kon Knueppel complicates a lot of that. Final thing for me, to the idea that Charles Lee is using this as sort of a sneak benching technique. Charles Lee probably wants to win some basketball games, and I think it would behoove him to win some basketball games because, you're going to be held to what even if they get to the end of this season and he's not held to like, okay, well, you didn't win this number of games, so now you got to go. Like, you still want to maximize that winning so that you can make your case later on down the line if you barely miss the playoffs in the future. And the other thing is, like, LaMelo provides you with an avenue to win a basketball game. And so the incentive for Charles Lee is to play that guy. He gives you a clear avenue to winning that you don't have if he's on this minutes restriction and you can't play him in the fourth quarter. He moves defenses, he draws attention, and at his best can completely take over and dominate and win a basketball game. So I think that, Charles Lee understands what this training staff and what the team has set up for LaMelo, and is probably frustrated with it as well. But this is where we are with LaMelo because he's had, more than 5 ankle injuries.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
One more segment to go, some news and notes. How about Tidjane Salaün? He's coming back. What kind of role do we expect from Tidjane with the big boys? That's coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays, they move fast. The NFL season is moving fast. And one big play, it can suddenly change everything. All of a sudden, it feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. There was a lot from Bryce Young and the Panthers after their victory over the best team in the league. Maybe that belongs to the Panthers now? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot. Defense tightens up. The momentum, it flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props updates as the guy heats up. And you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked in every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Last couple things based off the games that we just watched against the Bulls and the Raptors, going 2-0 against them. You brought up a great point at the beginning of the show. They decided that they wanted to have a season, and I wasn't quite sure if that was the case, both from the administration all the way down to the players, just how much both of those parties wanted a season this year. And that's what comforts me, is that everybody decided this isn't cool. What happened against New York, that's not okay. So we got a couple games left at home this weekend to do something for our fans that purchase these tickets, that want to cheer about something. And they gave the Hornets fans something to cheer about. And as I've said a million times, if you build it, they will come. We heard all those guys against Chicago. We heard all of the fans against Toronto. Spectrum Center got loud. And how many people would have expected to get loud in the fourth quarter of one of those games against good competition still, Eastern Conference play-in / playoff teams, after what you did against the Knicks? But everybody decided that's not okay. Miles Bridges, Kon Knueppel, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. And to me, most importantly, Charles Lee and the administration. Like, look, it's not like Rick Schnall dribbled a basketball out there. Gabe Plotkin didn't shoot any shots. I get it. But we did have the report at the beginning of the season. I believe Terrence Oglesby, if I'm not mistaken, put this out there before anybody else. That ownership, they wanted to get this thing moving a little bit. They'd like to win more basketball games. So I think what comforts me is that everyone came together and said, that's not okay. And they answered with 2 big wins. And you know what? They actually battled after falling down to a 17-point deficit in the first quarter against Toronto. Doug, I thought we were about to have another ugly game. I was like, all right, fine. At least we got the win against Chicago. I thought it was about to get real nasty, and eventually they battled back to win that one. I thought that was a good fight.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Hornets are still operating at a talent deficit. So there are going to be some nights against some opponents where they just don't have it offensively. But the idea behind Hornets DNA and all of these things that we've heard from Charles Lee and company is this idea that you try hard regardless, and that defense should be a non-negotiable, that maybe they don't have all the defensive talent in the world, but that the defensive effort should be non-negotiable. And by the way, it is for the best teams in this league. I don't know if you caught Rick Carlisle's press conference where he was a little upset with his Indiana Pacers team, who've played some of the worst basketball, particularly at the beginning of the season, than any other team. And he's talking about after a game how like defense, it doesn't matter what your record is, like defense is non-negotiable. You have to try hard. And if you don't, for Rick Carlisle and the Pacers, it doesn't matter who you are or what the record is or how bad you need to win. If you're not going to try hard on defense, you're not going to play. And I would hope that if you're going to talk about Hornets DNA and all of these different things, that they hold LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Kon Knueppel, Miles Bridges to that same kind of standard, that they would hold Moussa Diabate or Tidjane Salaün or any of these, KJ Simpson, any of these other fringe guys. That's how it can't be DNA applies to one set of players because they make a certain amount of money and it doesn't apply to another set of players. And maybe it works that way when you're the Los Angeles Lakers and you've got LeBron James and you've got Luka Doncic and you've got some of the best talent in the world. It can't apply to the Charlotte Hornets. It just can't work that way.
You brought him up. Let's talk about him. Tidjane Salaün, he's in the news. The Hornets are recalling Tidjane Salaün back up from his Greensboro Swarm stint, which he went back to Greensboro after a November 2nd game that he played with the Hornets. So really, we're looking about at a month's worth of time here, Doug. To me, that's not a coinky-dink. That seems like maybe Tidjane Salaün was pretty bad at the beginning of the season. We all know this to be true. Charles Lee said, let's get you a month worth of Greensboro basketball, and then let's bring you back. Barring injury, maybe this wasn't the original plan. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think almost a perfect month's worth of amount of time that coincides with just saying, let's leave you down there for a little while, have you cook, we'll bring you back, and then we'll see what you got, and then continue to grow your game up here. But again, it's been about a month's worth of time. It's a while, man. For 6th overall pick that played like a handful of games in his second year, it was a long time that he was with Greensboro, but he's back. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. I don't think that this was I don't think that Jeff Peterson looked around and was like, hey, where's Tidjane?
Yeah.
Jeff, we sent him down to Greensboro. What? And we never brought him back? It's like a Home Alone situation. Tidjane!
It's the garage door. That's what it was. Yeah. I left the garage door open. That's what it was. I didn't forget a kid.
The great thing about playing in Greensboro versus playing in Charlotte is that you do get a little bit more practice time. You do get a little bit more of a breather before you're like, oh, I've got to like intensely prepare. And I'm sure that coaching staff can spend a little bit more time with Tidjane than the coaching staff of the Charlotte Hornets, who they're preparing a lot of different things. I just think it's a total benefit for Tidjane, who I don't think has confidence issues. Like, I don't think he needed to go down to Greensboro to dominate, he put up great numbers, but KJ Simpson goes down to Greensboro and puts up great numbers. So I implore you not to look at the numbers.
Everybody does.
I know.
In fact, if you don't, then I worry about you.
Right.
Anyway. Right.
But that's not, to me, that's not what this, I don't think that's what this was about. Like, hey, we got to get him down there and get him some confidence. No, like Tidjane has confidence. It's the just understanding where to be that I think you can build against lesser competition. But I think it's about just giving him a space where he can get some more time and attention that he wasn't going to get in the grind that is the NBA schedule.
Yeah. By the way, the other thing that is noteworthy, Grant Williams had a practice jersey on, participating in practice with the Hornets. Hornets Reddit had it as well. Looks like Grant Williams participated in the team's practice / shoot around today. They tweeted that out at 2:14 December 1st, whenever you're listening. So they put Grant Williams on the mic with Del Curry and Eric Collins the other night. Quite good, quite entertaining, quite candid, by the way. Interesting stuff that he had to say on that broadcast. A lot of people were in favor of it. But like, I wonder, maybe he's coming back soon. He was out there practicing. Big deal. I will say this just as a reminder. I've reminded people of this quite a bit. That was a devastating knee injury. It wasn't your typical just ACL tear. There was a lot going on with that knee that he needed to come back from. Grant Williams is lauded for his rehab approach, that he attacks it. He doesn't take any time off. From a mental and physical standpoint, he talked about the mentality and how much you have to go through regarding mental health coming back from an injury like this. That's a big deal. It does feel like Grant Williams is somewhat close. And again, I don't think that this was I don't know. I can't say this. I'm not reporting anything. it didn't feel like there was any hiccup in the rehab approach because, again, devastating knee injury. And you're coming back basically a year later. Like it was the year anniversary a week ago, maybe a few days ago. I think the timeline, it looks good for Grant Williams, and hopefully he's back sooner than later.
Yeah, I think the difficult part of these injuries is always the knee is healthy. I can run around. I can walk around. I can run around. I can jump. I can do basically everything that I could before I got injured. And some people even report that they can do even better once everything comes together. But it's the trust. It's the, hey, when I get into a game situation and I've got to, make a quick movement or I've got to pivot, will I trust the knee so that I can get past that mental thing of like not thinking about it? I think there's a period of time that will probably extend into when he actually gets onto the floor for the first time, where he's working through that. So I think there's a journey that's happening right now, but man, it'll be great to have his shooting, his physicality, his focus, his intensity, his attitude, and his passing. There was I don't recall exactly which game it was, but there was a moment when Mason Plumlee got into the game. He started. It was when Kalkbrenner was injured. And just Mason's passing was just like, oh yeah, that's what it's like to have a passing big. Now, I'm not taking that over what we've gotten from Kalkbrenner or Musa, but man, it was just great to have somebody that can pass in the interior, that can make the kick out, and Grant can do that, and he would often do it from the post-up position.
And shooting. That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
The Grant Williams shooting will be quite nice. Last thing on the mental approach before we get out of here. You're so right. With Olivia having torn her Achilles playing pickleball, I've mixed it up with a couple of doctors/physical assistants. I'm reporting live from Charlotte based on my conversations with some doctors, but the mental part is really interesting and real enlightening. It's easy for listeners to hear our takes on this on the podcast and then just kind of stow it away somewhere else and not really ever go back to it. It's enlightening just how mentally straining it is on these athletes to come back from, because a doctor threw out a figure at me that 30% of athletes that suffer an Achilles injury, I think is what he was mentioning specifically, don't ever get back to what they used to be because of the mental side of it. They never, ever, ever trust their Achilles again, or they don't trust their previous injury ever, or their injury ever again, to get back to full health. And even a guy like Javonte Williams, the running back for Dallas, comes to mind. It took a couple of years after his ACL injury to come back and actually be able to cut and look like the old Javonte Williams again, for all my NFL heads out there. Luckily, I will say Grant Williams' game isn't designed off of overly exerting cuts and being this crazy athlete.
What are you trying to say?
He's a brute. He's a strong boy. That's what I'm saying. I think you can still be strong, hit shots, be a great passer, be a good rebounder by getting positioning without being this explosive athlete. Maybe I'm creating that last part out of thin air, but anyways, it's kudos to him, man. Like, he's really worked hard. You've heard everybody laud him for working hard to come back from this injury, and hopefully he's back real soon.
Don't you disparage my chunky boys. I like Kon Knueppel, and we've got Grant Williams coming back. Make regular bodies. I mean, look at Luka. Make regular bodies okay again in the NBA. I say,
if Grant Williams has a regular body being jacked, then we're all in trouble, buddy. That's not a regular body.
No, I'm saying, no, you want players cut from marble. I want players cut from marble cake.
Marble cake is good. It's been a while since I've had a nice marble cake. That's Doug Branson. Go ahead.
Bad thing about Grant coming back, though, there's only one bad thing, and that's that we won't get him and Pat Connaughton in street clothes doing like an Abbott and Costello routine, comedy cheerleaders on the bench. Like, it's been great when they've cut away to a big Hornets play to see those two guys celebrating with each other, almost like apart from the team. It's like they're like not doing their own thing. I love them. They have
coaching.
character.
Grant Williams even talked about it. Like, during that broadcast, my man is coaching just as hard as Charles Lee out there, and that's a high bar to clear. Charles Lee is active. So is Grant Williams out there on the sideline. That'll do it. Locked On Hornets, Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Go check out the Substack. Also go check out Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. And I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. And I do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.